In the launching bay, Anakin kept his eyes on the Mechno chair, while R2-D2 and TC-16 kept their photoreceptors on Anakin. Now that the analysts had run their diagnostic routines, the technicians were preparing to pack the device for safe shipment to Coruscant. Just as Obi-Wan had said, they resented the fact that Anakin had tampered with the chair, despite the fact that, had he not, the chair would have blown itself to pieces, taking with it the hollow image of Sidious and whatever other communications memories it might contain. Maybe Qui-Gon should have left you at Watto's junk shop, Obi-Wan's little joke. But the words had stung for some reason, probably because of Anakin's own musings about what might have become of him had the Jedi not been forced to land on Tatooine to find a replacement part for Padmé's starship. It wasn't hard to imagine himself stuck in Mos Espa, with his mum, with C-3PO, without the bright shell he now wore. At 9 years of age, he had been an expert pod racer. By 21, he would have been a galactic champion. With or without Qui-Gon's or Watto's help, he would eventually have won the Boonta Eve race, and his reputation would have been made. He would have bought freedom for himself, his mother, all the slaves in Mos Espa, gone on to win the grand races on Malastare, been hailed in the gambling casinos on Ord Mantell and Coruscant. He wouldn't have become a Jedi, he would have been too old to train, would never have learned to wield a lightsaber. But he would have been able to fly rings around the finest of Jedi pilots, including Saesee Tiin. And he still would have been stronger in the Force than any of them. He might never have met Padmé. He had thought her an angel, arrived on Tatooine from the moons of Yego. A playful remark on his part, but not as entirely innocent as it had sounded. Even so, to her, he was just a funny little boy. Padmé didn't know then that his precocity wasn't limited to a skill for building and fixing things. He had an uncanny sense for knowing what was going to happen, a certainty that he would become celebrated. He was different, chosen long before the Jedi Order had bestowed the title. Mythical beings came to him, angels and Jedi, and he excelled in contests in which humans weren't even meant to participate. And yet, even with an angel and Jedi for guests in his home, he hadn't divined the sudden departure from Tatooine, the Jedi training, his marriage. He was no longer the funny little boy, but Padmé remained his angel. A vision of her broke his reverie. Something had changed. His heart filled with longing for her. Even through the Force, he couldn't clarify what he was feeling. He simply knew that he should be with her, that he should be there to protect her. He flexed his artificial hand. Remain in the living Force, he told himself. A Jedi didn't dwell in the past. A Jedi surrendered attachment to persons and things that passed out of his or her life. A Jedi didn't fantasize or think. What if... He cut his eyes to the 3 human technicians who were fitting the Mechno chair into a crash foam safety harness. One of them was working too fast and almost knocked the chair over. Anakin shot to his feet and stormed across the bay. "Be careful with that," he shouted. The oldest of the 3 gave him a scornful glance. "Relax, kid, we know our job." Kid. He waved his hand, calling on the Force to keep the Mechno chair fixed in place. The 3 techs strained to move it, baffled until they realized what Anakin had done. Then the same one straightened and glared. "All right, let go of it. When I'm convinced you actually know what you're doing." "Look, kid." Anakin beetled his brows in anger and advanced a step. The 3 techs began to back away from the chair. "They're afraid of me, they've heard about me." For an instant their fear empowered him. Then he felt shame and averted his glance. The eldest was holding up his hands. "Take it easy, Jedi, I didn't mean to offend you." "Pack it yourself if you want to," another said. Anakin swallowed hard. "It's important, that's all. I don't want anything to happen to it." He let the Mechno chair settle to the floor. "Carefully this time," the eldest said, refusing to so much as glance at Anakin. "General Skywalker," a trooper called from behind him. Anakin turned, saw the trooper motioning to the shuttle. "Hyperwave commo for you from the office of the Supreme Chancellor." Now the 3 technicians looked at him again. As well they should. Without a word, Anakin spun on his heel and ascended the shuttle's boarding ramp. Above a holoprojector plate in the ship's comm center, A flickering image of Supreme Chancellor Palpatine was resolving. When Anakin had positioned himself on the transmission grate, Palpatine smiled. "Congratulations, Anakin, on your victory at Cato Neimoidia." "Thank you, sir, but I'm sorry to report that Viceroy Gunray escaped, and that fighting continues in the Rock Arch cities." Palpatine's smile faltered. "Yes, I was informed as much." It wasn't the first time Anakin had heard from Palpatine in the field. At Jabim, Palpatine had ordered Anakin to retreat before the planet fell to the Separatists. At Praesitlin, he had praised Anakin for having saved the day. Still, the communications were often as awkward as they were flattering. "What's wrong, my boy?" Palpatine asked. "I sense that you're troubled about something. If it involves Gunray, accept my word that he won't be able to hide from us forever. None of them will. One day you'll have your chance for complete victory." Anakin wet his lips. "It's not about Gunray, sir. Just a small incident here that made me angry." "What incident?" Anakin was tempted to disclose the details of his and Obi-Wan's discovery, but Yoda had told him to remain silent about the Mechno chair. "Nothing important," he said, "but I always feel guilty when I become angry." "That's a mistake," Palpatine said gently. "Anger is natural, Anakin. I thought we'd been through all this, regarding what took place on Tatooine." "Obi-Wan doesn't show anger, except of course at me. Even then it's more like aggravation." "Anakin, you're a passionate young man. That's what separates you from your Jedi comrades. Unlike Obi-Wan and the others, you weren't raised in the temple where younglings are taught to conquer their anger by transcending it. You enjoyed a natural childhood. You can dream, you have imagination and vision. You're not some unthinking machine, some heartless piece of technology. Not that I'm suggesting that the Jedi are," Palpatine was quick to add. "But for someone like you, any threat to someone or something important to you is likely to evoke an emotional response. It happened with your mother. It will happen again. But you shouldn't fight those responses. Learn from them, but don't fight them." Anakin suppressed an impulse to reveal his marriage to Padmé as well. "Do you think I'm immune to anger?" Palpatine said into the short silence. "I've never seen you angry." "Well, perhaps I've grown adept at reserving my anger for private moments, but it grows more difficult to do so in the face of the frustrations I face with the Senate, with the way this war persists. Oh, I know that you and the other Jedi are doing everything you can, but the Jedi Council and I don't always see eye to eye on how this war should be waged. You know my love for the Republic knows no bounds. That's why I'm struggling so hard to keep it from falling to pieces." Anakin forced a derisive breath. "The Senate should simply follow your lead. Instead, they block you, they tie your hands. It's as if they envy the power they gave you." "Yes, my boy, many do, but many support me as well. More important, we must abide by the rules and regulations of the Constitution, or else we are no better than those who stand in the way of freedom." "Some individuals should be above the rules," Anakin grumbled. "A case can be made for it. And indeed, you are one of those people, Anakin. But you must know when to act and when not to." Anakin nodded. "I understand." He paused, then said, "How is Coruscant, sir?" "I miss it." "Coruscant is as ever, a shining example of what life could be, but I'm far too busy to indulge in its manifold pleasures." Anakin searched for some way to frame the question he needed to ask. "I guess you've been meeting frequently with the Loyalist Committee." "As a matter of fact, I have. A treasured group of senators who value the high standards of the Republic as much as you and I do." Palpatine smiled. "Senator Amidala, for example. So filled with vigor and compassion, the same qualities she brought to her term as Queen of Naboo. She causes a stir wherever she goes." He looked directly at Anakin. "I'm so glad that you and she have become such dear friends." Anakin swallowed nervously. Will you tell her hello from me?" "Of course I will." An ensuing silence lingered an instant too long. "Anakin, I will somehow see to it that you return from the Outer Rim soon," Palpatine said. "But we cannot rest until those responsible for this war have been held accountable for their crimes and eliminated as a threat to lasting peace. Do you understand?" "I'll do my part, sir." "Yes, my boy, I know you will."